It was a wonderful opportunity to help her to see that any wife ought to encourage her husband in a business venture, and especially a Christian Science wife. For all the time she could be knowing it was not what her husband thought was right, or what she thought was right that would come to pass, but what God knew was right. She could be rejoicing that God's plan for them was in operation, and therefore wonderful things were happening. I told her the way that I'd been praying, and I suggested that we put it in her terms, that she didn't care whether she dug gold in Alaska or lassoed cattle in Argentina or was a housewife in Indiana or operated the motel in California. All she wanted was that God's plan be in operation. She promised to pray that, and she did. The husband built the motel in California, and she learned that a business that she thought would be boring was very interesting. One she thought she'd be ashamed of, she was really proud of. She came to appreciate California as a place to live far more than Indiana. One of the reasons that she hadn't wanted to move away from Indiana was that her son was going into the Navy. She felt that she ought to maintain his home for him here, so that whenever he would have a leave, he could come home. Well, he did join the Navy. He was stationed in California and was able to come home almost every weekend. And so, from every point of view, even some I haven't time to mention, it was a complete demonstration. Oh yes, I must mention the fact that the relationship between the husband and wife was far more wonderful than it had ever been. Naturally, with all the bitterness, the rebellion, and the unhappiness gone, she was completely healed of the cancer. When she wrote to me telling me of her final healing, she expressed gratitude for my sharing this way of praying with her. In the letter, she enclosed the picture of a rock. The rock was the marker of a very early settlement in California, just 3 miles from their motel, and the name on the rock was Timbuktu. She said, "You see, I have come to Timbuktu after all." Even though you may be completely satisfied with your present situation, even though you might feel that there is nothing left to be desired, I sincerely hope that you will never let a day go by, but that you rejoice in the great truth that God's plan for you is in operation, and there is no other power or presence that can interfere with it. That's the way we can say with such absolute certainty that wonderful things are taking place now and ever will continue to take place. Several times you have already heard me say that I'm not concerned about anything. Wonderful things are taking place. It's a positive, joyous attitude. I would like to discuss with you the importance of the qualities of positiveness and joy in your application of Christian Science. You know, we are not actually practicing Christian Science unless joy is present in our thinking. What would your answer be if I were to ask you individually, are you happy? What would your answer be if I were to ask you, are you supremely happy? In every instance, every single individual should be able to say, without any reservation, yes, I am supremely happy. Aren't we all followers of Jesus the Christ? Do we not seek to obey His every command? See Matthew 5, line 12. Jesus mentions the importance of joy and gladness, and He was forever telling His followers to rejoice and to be exceedingly glad. It's a very special message He gave to each of us. John 16, line 17, when He told us to rejoice, and then added, "No man can take your joy from you. These things I have spoken unto you, that my joy remain in you, and that your joy be full." You see, Jesus wasn't satisfied with our being just a little bit happy. He wanted us to be supremely happy. He wanted our joy to be full. Mrs. Eddy recognizes the importance of happiness when she writes in the textbook, "Happiness is spiritual, born of truth and love. It is unselfish, therefore it cannot exist alone, but requires all mankind to share it." The Psalms are full of commands to rejoice. "Be glad in the Lord, and rejoice ye righteous, and shout for joy, all ye that are upright in heart. Thy God hath anointed thee with the oil of gladness. Yea, happy is that people whose God is the Lord. Do not these very words and the spirit they impart cause your hearts to be uplifted and make you desire to sing praises unto God? Occasionally you will hear someone say, I want to be happy, but I don't know how to be. How can I rejoice when I'm really low in spirit and don't actually feel glad? Well, let us deal with happiness just as we would any other desirable quality. If you want health and wealth, you claim it in its spiritual sense. Therefore, claim happiness now, not just in a degree, but fully and completely. You know, after all, because we reflect the Supreme Being, we must claim His qualities in the superlative. Claim that you are supremely happy. Claim that you are one of the happiest women in the universe. Listen to the way that Mrs. Eddy tells us to demonstrate happiness. If you wish to be happy, argue with yourself on the side of happiness. Take the side you wish to carry, and be careful not to talk on both sides, or to argue stronger for sorrow than for joy. You are the attorney for the case, and you will win or lose according to your plea. Just think, Mrs. Eddy has specifically appointed you, and you, to be the attorney to plead the case for happiness and joy. Just how have you been pleading the case? Have you been arguing the case for sadness, for moderate joy, or for supreme happiness? Have you been testifying that you are supremely happy right here, right now, or that you would be if something happened, or when some circumstance might be changed? Let us ever win in demonstrating supreme joy by such consistent argument as, I am supremely happy, I know it, I understand it, I acknowledge it, and I'm grateful and thrilled to be the happy child of God. Not only am I supremely happy, but I feel it. I am demonstrating supreme happiness. In fact, I shout my joy and gladness from the housetops. Moreover, everyone sees me as a supremely joyous image and likeness of God. Exclamation point. Period. Full stop. Anyone who testifies concerning his joy in such a manner cannot help but feel the boundless bliss of soul and the rapture of divine mind. We're claiming only that which is true about ourselves. The lie is that man could be capable of being unhappy. Man, never having been born into matter, living in the heaven of divine consciousness, sees nothing, hears nothing, feels nothing to be unhappy about, since he is ever in the presence of God, good. There is only one cause for joy and rapture in his experience.